Good evening. My name is Constantin Salame. I'm a senior investment advisor at Berytech. I also sit on the board of Berytech Fund 1 and Berytech Fund 2. And I personally fund a number of companies, both in Lebanon and also across the Middle East and Africa region. I'm here tonight to share with you a set of four workshops that Berytech decided to launch completely free and to the founders of small and medium-sized companies in Lebanon. These four workshops are really helping the company to address the two aspects of crisis. In Chinese, crisis is too simple. One is danger, the other one is opportunity. It's to help the founders of these companies to understand the risk areas or danger zone that they are facing and to see what sort of mitigation plan to address these, but at the same time to focus on the opportunities that the crisis bring in terms of new business model, in terms of new markets, in terms of new ways of doing business. So these four workshops will cover one, the importance of cash flow management. Number two is developing comprehensive risk management framework that would list the key risk areas and look at the mitigation plan. The third workshop is focusing on aligning your stakeholders around your new strategic direction. And the last one, ensuring that you have the right foundation in terms of governance and in terms of finance and business control to ensure that you have sustainable value creation. I look forward to welcoming a number of you to these workshops. We will run these workshops also in 2020. Thank you and look forward to seeing you hopefully very soon. Good evening again, Constantine. I'm going to focus on the first workshop. The first workshop is on the importance of cash flow management, because your company would live or die by the quality of your cash flow forecast and how efficiently you're managing your cash flow management process. So this is quite important. So we will go through the three financial statements, namely the income statement, the balance sheet, and also the cash flow statement. We will look at the different ways where cash is being used and cash is being sourced. So these are either in terms of cash flow from operations, we look at cash flow from investments, and we look at cash flow from financing. Now, once we have done this, we will then look at the cash flow forecast, being able to work on specific case studies of companies who will develop and share their cash flow forecast, identifying the cash flow gaps. Once these cash flow gaps have been identified, we look at two scenarios, a conservative scenario and a more aggressive scenario on it, and then we will spend the time on sharing best practices on the best way to be able to address these cash flow gaps. So what are these best practices? It could be either in the way you would fund it, or the way you would control the cost, or the way you would manage your working capital in terms of accelerating the collection from your receivable, or reducing your inventory level, or delaying payments to supplier, so that you are in a position to really control the quality of your cash flow forecast and to control the best mitigation action to address the cash flow gap that you have. I look forward to welcoming you on this first workshop on cash flow management. Thank you. Good evening again. The second workshop is on the developing a risk management framework. The first thing is defining what is the risk management framework and what is the process that we go through in order to be able to develop it. So the first step is to list all the key risk areas that your company is facing during moment of crisis. And these could be external or these could be internal elements that are affecting it, either in terms of the way you run the operations, the devaluation of the currency, the capital control that would affect your ability to pay back your suppliers. It could be the loss of potential talents. It could be the loss of customers. So you will go and list all the risk areas that your organization is facing. Once you've done this, and this is what we call the risk register, you then move to the process of being able to prioritize them. So how do you prioritize them? We would look at all your risk areas, look at the impact that they have on your business, and look at the probability that these events could happen. Once we've done this exercise, we will then map. We will have a heat map of your risk factors, and we will focus on the one that have high probability of happening and high impact on your business. Once this is done, we then sit down all together and develop the mitigation plan. So for each of the high risk, high impact and high probability risk area, we will come up with the right mitigation plan. What are the actions that the organization needs to implement in order to reduce or mitigate against the risk? Once this exercise has been done, we have now a comprehensive risk management framework. We then need to do the ultimate, which is probably the most important step, is to take these mitigation steps and implement it in your balanced scorecard. So what are the key initiatives that you're going to be focusing on over the next 3, 6, potentially 12 months, and make sure that we review these initiatives on a regular basis, so to ensure that we're on track in order to mitigate against the key risk areas. So this process is the risk management framework. We'll show you the templates, we'll show you how these templates are being used across different companies, and we'll have also companies coming in and sharing with you how they have used these templates in managing the crisis and managing the different risk factors that they have been facing. Look forward to welcoming you during this workshop. Thank you. The third workshop is on aligning your stakeholders along the new crisis management plan that you have developed and you have with your team. So the process behind it is understanding that what are the characteristics of a crisis. The crisis normally is sudden, it comes quickly, the impact is very large, you need to make decisions very fast, and there is a need for change. So these 4 elements put into perspective the fact that if you don't align your stakeholders around your plan, your likelihood of being able to implement this plan and reverse the value destruction process will not be as effective. So what we do is we share with you 6 dimensions. These are 6 dimensions on what we call the change management model that we have, and how do we specify and clarify these 6 dimensions, and how do we ensure that these 6 dimensions are aligned. The first of those dimensions is identifying who is your customer segments and what is the value proposition that you have to this segment. This is the first one. The second one is ensuring that you have the right communication plan in place to communicate with your key stakeholders in a consistent way. The third dimension is ensuring that your leadership behavior is here and in place. One, in terms of selecting the right people, in terms of developing your people, in terms of retaining your people, and providing them the right tools to be able to do the best of their job in moments of crisis. The fourth dimension is ensuring that you have the right structure in terms of policies, in terms of process, in terms of systems that are here to enable all these processes. The other dimension, the fifth dimension, is on the performance. Do you have the right key performance indicators? Do you have the right key strategic initiative documented? Are you reviewing them on a regular basis? And at the center of this is your culture. Is the culture aligned with your new strategic direction? Is the values of the organization need to be changed or needs to be modified in order to evolve with the new strategic direction and journey that you have set forward? So these 6 dimensions, we will go through them, see how this is applied to specific case studies, and then help you in applying it to your own companies. Thank you. The fourth workshop is probably the most important one, is ensuring that you have the right governance foundation in place so as to allow you to go through this period of crisis and identify the clear value creation initiatives that you will be following. So what are the different steps? The first one is we need to make sure that the transformation plan of the organization is cleared, is shared, and is well communicated. So we work together in shaping this transformation plan. Where are we now? Where do we want to go? What is the way to get there? And what is the role of each of the team members in this journey? And how does success stand? Very important. The second element behind it is to ensure that you have identified your growth initiatives. What are your top growth initiatives? Have you prioritized them? Do you know how much funding is requested? And you know what sort of return you will get on these investments. It's quite important. This is the second step. The third step behind, once you've done it, is you put together realistic financial projections. These are what we expect to do. This is how we're going to grow our revenue. This is how we're going to improve our profit margins. And this is how we're going to create value, listing all your absorptions very clearly. The step before last is, once you have put all this in place, ensure that you have the right team. Is it a complete team? Is it a competent team? do we need to complement this team with new skill set? If not now, in the future. And the last point is, do we have the right board, supportive board, to be able to help the company grow, understand what are the risks they're facing, understand what are the opportunities, and making sure that we have the right support in terms of advisory, in terms of coaching, in terms of mentoring for the organization to be able to grow through these times of crisis and be able to flourish in Lebanon and also overseas. Thank you.